Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl, 'cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1. Yes, we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1.
Time now for Dolphins Central. Here's Thomas Galicia.
2 down, sit, hut, hut, hut. Can't touch us.
Welcome, everyone, to Dolphins Central on the Pro Football Central Podcast Network. I'm your host, Thomas Galicia, Miami Dolphins featured columnist for Bleacher Report, and today we will focus mainly on the Dolphins, as well as other things going on in Miami sports, as my guests will be Ryan Yousefi from the Miami New Times and Adam Silverstein from Rivals.com and OnlyGators.com. Our first guest writes for the Miami Heat for the Miami New Times, where he was phenomenal during the 2012-2013 season, and occasionally also writes about the Dolphins and the Marlins as well. You can find him on Twitter at RizWrites, and if you're a South Florida sports fan, he is a definite must-follow. Please welcome to the program, Ryan Yousefi.
Hey, how you guys doing? That's quite an intro right there, I tell you. So, what's going on today? Nothing in the news for the NFL, right?
Oh no, absolutely nothing. Something about some former Gator up in New England. It's probably not people, so we can just ignore that. Now, once again, great work writing about the Heat this season. And as a Dolphins feature columnist, I would just love to know, what is it like writing about a championship team?
You know, it's been 2 straight years now, and it's pretty surreal. I mean, you know, you grow up as a Miami Heat fan, and you look back now, and it's been 25 years that they've been around, and they are only the 6th team now to be, you know, win 3 titles. So that's pretty impressive stuff. So, I mean, it's just the 113 games, hell of a ride. People quit, come back, running upstairs, back into the arena. You know, it's the greatest movie you could ever possibly pay money to watch in the theater. And I mean, it's like I said, it's just surreal. I mean, it's at the point now that you just don't want it to end. You know, you're at the point now where last year you won one, and you didn't know what was going to happen. Now you got 2, and it's like you just can't imagine this team breaking up. And it's gonna be a sad day when it does, but you don't want to think about that right now. You want to keep it going. And it was good to hear Riley today talk about keeping the team together. You know, he seems to want to keep it going until somebody stops him. You know, until somebody else makes decisions to leave. You know, so. It's been a hell of a ride, man, and Miami deserves it. You know, Dolphins haven't had one of those in a while. Marlins ones, they're not on par with these other sports teams. You know, so did a hell of a job, Miami Heat.
Yeah, yes, it was. Now, for a little, historical context, because I love looking at things in a historical context. Locally, where would you rank this year's Heat team against some of Miami's other great teams, like the 72 and 73 Dolphins, the 2 Marlins World Series champions, or even the 2 previous Heat championships?
Well, I mean, as far as the Dolphins go, you know, I'm 33, so I'm right there on that edge where I've seen nothing. You know, I just know the names. I know the clips from NFL Network. They've honored them 60 times now in my lifetime, so I know the faces. I know the old faces. I don't know anything about the what they were. You know, I'm still learning stuff to this day. You know, they were talking about the Heat and not breaking them up, and I had no idea the UFL was a big reason that the old 70 teams broke up. I just thought, they lost, and that was that. So, I mean, that for someone my age who was just figuring stuff out, coming online when Dan Marino took them to the Super Bowl and lost. I mean, I can barely remember that. So it's tough to put that in context. You're going to ask somebody a little bit older than me. But, as far as the Marlins go, I grew up playing baseball, played throughout high school. It was my first love. It's the sport I played the most and followed the most as a kid. We got a baseball team, and I couldn't believe it. I think I cried as a kid. I mean, and it's just, it was awesome in 1997, but since then, it's been break up, come back together, break up, and I'm to the point where they could win it this year, and it just isn't going to be that special to me personally. But they're not going to win it this year, by the way. Just spoiler alert. But,
That's pretty high. That was pretty high.
Yeah. Now, 2006 for the Heat was something else. I mean, I didn't believe it until it happened. Till the final buzzer. I didn't expect it. We got Shaq. Nobody talks about that parade when we got Shaq with the Super Soakers, but we got him. He comes into town. You think, wow, this is going to be pretty cool. And, a little bit later it happens, and it was almost like, did that just happen? And then all of a sudden, just like, the NBA season, it's off season, it's over before October, we're starting over again. And the draft's, tomorrow? Like, they don't rest very much, They're going to be in China playing basketball in 10 days, it feels like. So, last year's Miami Heat team, the way they beat the Thunder, it just was like a celebration the entire series, kind of like, this is what was going to happen. We told you this year. And nothing, I've never felt anything like it. I mean, the ups and downs, and it feels good as, there's different kind of Heat fans. And if you stuck with them, you got all the payoff at the end. And my wife knows nothing about sports, and she was chest bumping me after Ray Allen's shot. I mean, you got a Game 6 and a Game 7 like that. It's just, that kind of things like that don't happen very often, And it'd be nice to see the Miami Heat or the Miami Dolphins, come close to something like that. If they're to make a run this year and win it, I mean, you're not going to. The thing about basketball that I always say is that it's such an up and down game. Like, before I can tweet, hell yeah, about a Heat bucket, they're hitting the three at the other end, and I'm like, delete tweet, But football's. You can't enjoy something, but in football, usually the last couple minutes, there's one drive, one fumble. But when it comes to, the Heat, I mean, people are walking, like you saw, people are walking out of the arena with 28 seconds left, and boom, that's the equivalent of 3 onside kicks. I don't know. So it's never going to reach that drama, I don't think. I mean, I'm surprised by sports every year of my life. And you just never know, You never know what kind of ride the team's going to take you on. That's why I always tell people, don't leave the games early. A month can change a hell of a lot. Don't give up on your team until they're statistically out of the playoffs or the game is at 0. So, I really hope, I think Dolphins fans are cautiously optimistic this year's season. When I was younger, or even a couple years ago, this is the year, we're on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And then it was like, oh man, let's just lose every game and get a good player. And then now it's kind of like, yeah, those are good guys. They were good elsewhere. Let's see what they do here. But I'm not talking anything yet, So it's going to be really interesting. I think they need to steal the town back because it's gone, It's for the younger kids and even guys my age that are 30-something. I mean, you look around who's buying jerseys, and they're buying LeBron and Wade jerseys, They're not buying Lamar Miller jerseys as much as they're buying a LeBron jersey, That's unfortunate, but let's change things. People forget real quick, so they can steal it back. Get a 4-0 start, Tannehill throw for 400 yards, and they'll be like Miami Heat who for a couple months. So, that's the way we are down here, but I don't apologize for them, I love every fan down here. And Heat Twitter is, the best. I think it was proven to be the second most active team in the NBA as far as fans on Twitter, and they're a great group of kids. I meet them out there, and they're all Dolphin fans as well. So, we meet out there for Dolphin games at Brews Room or Bo Campers or what have you, and they're all good people. They all deserve it, I think they all got this Heat championship, and in a way, it kind of like, it was well-deserved. This team is well-deserved for people down here because, I mean, Marlins championships are just, they're whetting your appetite, we want Heat. We didn't even know we wanted Heat until we got it, a couple years ago, 2006. But Dolphins will always, if the Dolphins go back-to-back, they will be back at number 1, It's just the way it is. It's the NFL, man.
Yeah, that is, and actually that leads to another question I was going to ask, and that is, we all saw the Heat's parade in downtown Miami, but if the day were to come when the Dolphins finally do what we've been waiting for 40 years for them to do, and bring that Lombardi trophy back to South Florida, how big do you think that celebration will get?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think if it was on a Sunday, this parade we just had, it would be double. I think logistics and I'm not sure. Where do they even, this is a funny question. Where do they have a Dolphins parade? Where does that happen? Not on Bayside, right? Do we even know? I mean, I don't know.
Well, also, I could see it like, I remember a few years ago when the Marlins won the World Series, they actually had two parades.
Yeah.
They had the parade in downtown Miami, and that was in the morning. Then in the middle of the afternoon, they had one along the Intercoastal. They had a boat parade, and I thought that was pretty cool. And then they ended the night at what was then Pro Player Stadium with the big rally with 70,000 people. So I can imagine a Dolphins parade, a Dolphin celebration, something like that, where it's all three counties really, coming together and having some big fun like that.
Yeah, I think it might be. I think it would be bigger because you think about it, and we get bashed as a fan base down here, but 20-some years ago we had one team, and that team was the Miami Dolphins. And you got older people down here. Like when I was growing up, I can remember watching Celtics-Lakers finals, and I was the biggest fan of Magic Johnson, and I switched. But a guy that might have been 30 around then and living in Miami, he's still a Lakers fan. He might not have switched. Miami Dolphins fans they're here. There's the 80-year-old lady down here that is going to the parade. She got to get wheeled out there, So I think I can see it being, and I mean also the release. I mean, my God, it's been enough time already. It's like it's an in thing to be a Heat fan. You get all the people that their jerseys don't look very washed, if you know what I mean. It's not the in thing really to be a Dolphins fan. It might be soon, but it isn't. So I think you're gonna, I just got so much respect for Dolphin fans that have sat through this. We all make jokes. There's people on the fence of rooting for losses, but I mean, it's just to the point where they're rooting for those losses because they need the payoff. They can't take it anymore. I've barely seen playoff wins in my life. I mean, playoff wins. My biggest Dolphin memories are Thurman Thomas screens, right up, where, like, and Lewis Oliver not figuring it out, like, these are my memories. They're not good ones. Thank God for Dan Marino. I mean, I'm watching that 30 for 30. I was shivering because I was scared like they weren't going to draft him. I was like, how much would stuff have changed my whole life? How bad would it have been? I'm like, just thinking, it's been pretty bad, but at least we got that, that one light. So it's time, man. What is their slogan this year? It's our time. Isn't that it? I mean, it's not feed the wolf again. I know that.
No.
It's our time, and I actually agree with that one. It's our time. I think you can see the division playing out. It's sad to, like they say, they didn't want Tony Parker to be hurt in the Heat playoffs. You hate to see the Patriots not be the Patriots and us beat them because of things like this, but it is what it is. When nobody's apologizing to us when all of our players are hurt, or Ricky Williams retires, so we're not apologizing to nobody. So we're going to go take that division this year, hopefully, and get in the playoffs. And you can ask a whole bunch of teams in the last decade what happens when you get in the playoffs. Everybody's 0-0. You just got to win a game at someone else's house if you don't win enough during the regular season. So I like their chances this year. The more the off season goes on, the more I like their chances.
Oh, I was actually going to get to a question like that where, I was wondering how you saw the Dolphins finishing the 2013 season. And,
how do I see them finishing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've learned my lesson. I think a lot of people have learned their lesson on the wins, loss, down the schedule thing. So much changes, and it's just dumb. in past couple seasons, I threw out 7s and 9s because we just do that. But in this season's schedule is real tough. If it was last season's schedule, I mean, I'd be a lot more cocky Dolphin fan. So the schedule is not easy, but you know what? It looks not easy right now. You know, Tom Brady goes out with another knee injury, and all of a sudden those 2 games look easy, and you got 6 possible likely wins in your division. But then I say likely, and EJ Manuel all of a sudden rookie of the year. You know, you don't know. You just don't know. You know, I haven't even, you know, I'm writing for the Miami Heat or writing for the Miami Times. I wish I wrote for Miami Heat, but being just engulfed with all their stuff, I'm just now getting to get into all the deep Dolphin stuff, and you know, of course, I've monitored it more than most people, but I like to, you know, look at these rookies and look at their YouTube videos and all that stuff, and I'm just getting into it. I like the moves. I've been one of the biggest Jeff Ireland haters you can imagine. You know, I was a part of the donation for the plane flying the banner to say, please let him go. Please leave, you know. I've done videos on YouTube with people writing lyrics to songs to ask him to please exit the premises. But you know what? You can't just hate the hate in life, you know. The guy had a plan. They had a plan. We weren't agreeing with every move, and I think some of the way he got lucky. I mean, you give up Brandon Marshall for the picks he got, and then you can flip them, you know, and you do stuff with that stuff. And the Vontae Davis pick, and I mean, he hasn't drafted best, and I just feel like this year I'm not going to give him credit for spending money because you have to spend money in the NFL, but I think Philbin has really helped him decide what kind of player this team wants. Winners and good, you know, not only good people. We've been going after good people for years and it hasn't worked, but professionals, you know. So we can mix in professionals with just badasses, and I think we kind of did that this year. Hopefully they get Leach. Does that already happen while I've been on the phone? I keep hearing they're the leaders.
You know, with Leach, I had gotten to the point, they talked about it so much, I've gotten to the point where it's just, wake me up when it actually happens, and then I'll have something to say about it.
Yeah, it's such negotiations. You know, you never know, like, oh, the Dolphins are going to lead. That could be an agent thing thrown out there, hoping for one final Giants contract offer. Like, oh, yeah, well, you know, bam. But the Dolphins...
How many times have they done that with the Dolphins? How many times have they done that with the Dolphins?
Oh, yeah, Ryan Clark. Yeah, Ryan Clark.
Mm-hmm.
He was here, right? He was telling. Yeah, I mean, it's just the business. And up until last year, the Dolphins were the ones getting used, you know. But this year, I mean, when you're the sugar daddy with the biggest pocketbook, you're taking home the nicest dancer usually, you know. So they got the guys they wanted. They went after them. That's what they haven't done in the past. You know, Jordan, their first round pick, they went and got him. That's what I've been asking them to do forever. Swing and miss. I don't care, you know. I'm no expert on Oregon football or even, you know, I follow the Knowles, I follow the Canes, the Gators, but I'm no expert on Oregon football. So I don't know. I'm trying to get into this kid and see what he's got, but I like that he can do a lot of different things. He's the future of the NFL, not the past. We're not going after huge linemen this year and next year cutting them and going after small offensive linemen. We're going after a kid that has lots of places he can succeed. So, and I like his attitude. I think he's been through stuff in his life. I like that. You know, not that that's not good for him, but you know, he's not out here with the big, you know, I haven't seen him at least with the big earrings and everything, and you know, talking a bunch of mess. Yeah, I think he's got the right attitude. All the interviews I've seen, and he'll fit in well down here. So put him opposite Wake or wherever they put him. I don't even care as long as he ends at the same place on the field on top of the quarterback, you know, and get the football because we need to get the football. We haven't been doing that.
I actually saw a lot of him at Oregon. I pretty much scouted the draft throughout the regular season last year, and Jordan is so versatile that there really is so much for the Dolphins to do with him. And you're absolutely right. He is the future of the NFL. I actually see him as being one of those game changers where it actually changes where he can actually change the way that the position of defensive end is played.
Right.
Not only can he be a defensive end, but he can drop back into coverage as a linebacker and cover the tight end well. He played cornerback at Oregon from time to time. He was a corner.
Wow.
He's a freak of nature.
He would have fit in good on the Patriots, huh? I mean, yeah, the kid's got a lot of game. I think once he puts on the muscle, he can stay at his weight, add a few pounds. I'm not worried about him being, a beast, but just get used to playing with men and get strong. These guys, they come in here and they think that they're gonna just bull rush people or they're gonna just use their one move on guys. And I think that this guy has to, I think he's got the right guys on the team too.
Yeah.
Maybe they can bring back Jason Taylor for a couple weeks and show him a few moves. I won't be against that. But he's got a teammate that's pretty damn good. So, and you know what? They remind me of each other. So that's good. But he's going to have to learn on the fly because we could really use him.
No, it's really gonna be fun to watch how his career progresses. He's probably the Dolphins rookie I've been the most excited about in a long time. Even more than Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill was more of a surprise to me last year, how good he wound up being. But this one I'm really excited about from the beginning.
Yeah, I was actually more scared with Ryan Tannehill because with the quarterback, we were so desperate. And I love the kid. I think he's the best looking Dolphins quarterback we've had since Dan Marino. And I don't think that's a stretch. I mean, Jay Fiedler did work, but he wasn't going to be wowing anybody in the weight room or, anything. He just was a gutsy player. But, I was just, if he flopped, Henny had a great first season, didn't he? Or he put up stats similar. He had his 400-yard games. He had his moments, but I never felt like, I always kind of in the back of my head was like, this guy is stiff and he doesn't seem to be getting better. He just seems to be Chad Henne. I feel like Tannehill's got the right attitude. He wants to come out and be the best. He doesn't want to just stay the Dolphins starter. I feel like Henne a lot of times just wanted to stay the Dolphins starter and was waiting for other people on the team to put him at the 20 after interception to do something. And then he'd do it sometimes. Tannehill looks like he wants the ball and he's going to take it down your throat and stop him, And I think he just, everybody knows about his college career, how he had a lot of, receiver and he wasn't getting a lot of experience. So I think he's still learning a lot of stuff, but he's a born leader, I think that's just in you. I think Henne, you just look at Henne as a fan, and I think Crowder said a lot of this on 560. 560. He's just like, he said things to the point where we don't believe in this guy. Look in his eyes, and we're just like, okay, we'll go do it. We're get me the ball back, whatever. And I feel like Tannehill is gonna capitalize on anything you give him, and if he makes a mistake, it's because the other team just was better on that play, not because he was scared. I feel like he's gonna go after the play, and if it happens, it happens. If not, it's not because he didn't. It wasn't because he was timid. And I think that might be your theme for the Dolphins season. Enough's enough. We're going to get it. Stop us if you can. We feel like we're talented now. We're not playing with one arm behind our back with players that just aren't elite. I'm a believer. When it comes to NBA, I'm a big believer of this. You got the Cavs trying to trade the number one pick and I'm like, just pick the best player and be good in 2017 because you're not going to beat the Heat, and then you got the Timberwolves with Kevin Love. I'm like, what are you doing? What do you want to be fourth? Wow, you're going to be fourth. I understand get in the playoffs, but I think the Dolphins now, their ceiling is a lot higher, and I think they're going to be, there's no reason that they have the roster, They have the roster right now. Whether it's this year or next year or the year after, I feel like they have guys that can win a Super Bowl. I didn't believe in them before. I just didn't believe in guys, last year, did you believe that Brian Hartline was going to catch the winning Super Bowl touchdown? I just didn't. I felt like our ceiling was, I love Brian Hartline. I think he's he's got a lot of swag to him, man. For swag for white boy, you know. And he don't give a crap what you think. And he has the surest hand since Camarillo or Ronnie Gadsden or whatever you want to say. That guy does not drop passes, and he ain't scared of nobody. And that's what I like. I like that this Dolphins team, is not looking like they're scared of anybody. You know.
The next guest is from Rivals.com and is also the founder of OnlyGators.com. He is Adam Silverstein. Adam, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, Adam, there's obviously a Gator influence on this Dolphins team. What do you see the the former Gators contributing to the Dolphins this season?
Well, certainly. I mean, first you obviously have Mike Pouncey, who's been there, starting at center and really looking like one of the best centers in the league at this time. The three new guys joining the team this year. You have running back Mike Gillislee, who started for the Gators last year, eclipsed 1,000 yards. You have linebacker Jelani Jenkins, also started. He started at the low linebacker position last year for Florida. And kicker Caleb Sturgis, who was arguably the best kicker in the country. So you have, right now, Sturgis probably looks like the player with the best chance to start right away for Miami. He's going to be going against veteran Dan Carpenter, obviously. And that's going to be a tough competition, no doubt about it, for the Dolphins. But Sturgis definitely has some things working for him, lower salary. They've obviously invested a draft pick in him, and Carpenter didn't really have a great year last year. Gillislee, he has Lamar Miller really starting at running back for the Dolphins this year to contend with. He's going to be really fighting it out with Daniel Thomas for that backup role. And then you have Jelani Jenkins, who most likely will start on special teams right away. He's a very dynamic tackler, very good in pursuit. He, as a freshman at Florida, really shined on special teams, and he's going to try to work himself, into the defensive rotation as well as a third down coverage linebacker.
Now, Gillislee is the Gator who actually has me the most intrigued because he seems like, as far as the position players, not counting the kickers, because I think Sturgis has the kicking job. All he has to do is match what Carpenter does. The salary will take care of itself, and that'll be it. But Gillislee is very intriguing because, to me at least, it looks like he offers something that Miller doesn't in terms of pass blocking and just the fact that he's more of a power running back. Could you see him filling in that role as a power running back with the Dolphins alongside Lamar Miller, or even being used as a running back while Miller is used as a slot receiver?
Well, I think there's definitely the possibility for that. Where I think Gillislee succeeds and Daniel Thomas fails, who obviously is kind of in that second role right now, is Gillislee has been successful, or was successful at least last year, in the SEC, running against some really top-notch defensive lines like LSU, for example, where Daniel Thomas has really struggled trying to gain those short yards and really being a power back for the Dolphins in the NFL. Obviously, Gillislee is going to have to do that at the next level, but I think you have that ability from Gillislee. Obviously, he has the size, but he also is more dynamic than Daniel Thomas is, and I think that is something where over the next few months, he may really be able to edge him out for that second-string position. And like you said, Lamar Miller, the Dolphins obviously really like what he can do in space, so getting him out, catching some passes, that would allow them to get Gillislee in the back, and it really could help the offense develop this year.
Hey, Adam, how you doing, man? It's Ryan.
Doing well. Nice to speak with you.
Hey, man, I was just wondering how you see Tannehill progressing this season, and who reminds you of the NFL. Maybe you can compare it to a second year someone else had, whether it be a Flacco or, where can he make the biggest strides this season and improve? So, set that question for you.
Sure. Well, I think I went to a few OTAs and mini camps down at the facility, and I did like what I saw from Tannehill, and obviously everything coming out from Joe Philbin, the head coach, and Mike Sherman and a lot of other offensive players have been really positive about what Tannehill's been able to do. I actually tend to compare him the most, and this is not necessarily a fair comparison because you're talking about arguably the best quarterback in the league right now, but I think he compares very nicely to Aaron Rodgers in that he does have the athletic ability to make plays with his feet, but ultimately would much prefer to stay in the pocket, and he has the strong arm to move the ball down the field that way as well. I think what the Dolphins have really done in signing, Justin Keller, Mike Wallace, bringing in Brandon Gibson, and just giving him a completely different level of talent on the offensive side of the ball to move the ball to.
Right.
I think that's really going to aid in his development more than anything. One of the things about Tannehill that isn't really talked about a lot is this guy had starts in the teens at quarterback in college. He didn't have the experience that Andrew Luck and Robert Griffin and some of these other guys did, Russell Wilson had, going into the league last year. Now that he has a full year of starting in the NFL under his belt, he has that same level of experience that those guys did as rookies. And I think that's really going to benefit him next year.
Yeah, for sure. How do you see Lamar Miller helping him out this season that in a way that Reggie Bush couldn't? Is that an upgrade, or do you believe this is just something for the future where they got to take a step back in the position, but in the future, have something better? Is he?
Right.
I know his pass blocking is improved, but not his strength. How do you see them utilizing Lamar Miller and making him a threat to think about for defenses, so that in turn helps out Tannehill in his second year?
Right. Well, my problem with Lamar Miller that a lot of people don't really discuss is just he hasn't done anything at the NFL level yet. So while the upside is there, certainly he showed flashes of
50 carries, right?
Yeah, exactly. He's shown ridiculous ability when he played for the University of Miami, but that was against ACC competition, of course. Now you have this guy jumping into an NFL role. I don't know how many carries he got for last year. It was very minimal. I think he, on talent-wise and what he is able to do, we discussed moving him out, to the slot a little, or as a receiver a little bit. Him being a little more north-south of a runner than Reggie Bush, who likes to move around, in the backfield a little bit and try to find a hole before, going forward. I think that makes him a more attractive running back for the Dolphins, a better fit for Mike Sherman's offensive system. And I think that does give him an opportunity to really succeed next year. But for me, it's really a wait-and-see situation because he hasn't done it yet. So I want to see him do it.
Right, and I think they have their backup plan with the Florida running back. I think Daniel Thomas he's got his last chance here to do something, to contribute in some way. But I'm worried more about. I think he has the talent to be on this level. I'm more worried about his injuries, his history of injuries. Last season I think he had 50-some carries, and at Miami he was, what was it, shoulder? Was it? I'm pretty sure that he, I think I would have liked to see them have brought back Reggie Bush for the 2-year contract, something like that. But it didn't happen. They're going to throw this kid in there, and I think we're going to know right away what he can do. And if he can break out, I think they're going to put they're going to put the Dolphins on another level where they can contend. With a whole running back, what can you do? There's not a lot of mid-season trades in the NFL, so yeah, I think you're right about that. It's going to be something to watch.
Well, I think when it comes to the Miami Dolphins and Jeff Ireland really drafting and signing, playmaking talent, everything's a question. You look at the 3 running backs on the roster right now. Like we said with Lamar Miller, you have the injury concerns. He hasn't done it on the NFL level. You have Daniel Thomas, another high draft pick who has not done it on the NFL level, and he's actually had opportunities to do it, and he's just shied away from some power rushing situations and hasn't really been the impact player the Dolphins hope. You have Gillislee, who seems like a really good player, of course, but this is also a guy who had 1 season as a starter in college. And, that does bode for fresh legs, so maybe that's a nice positive, but again, hasn't done anything on the NFL level. Of course, he hasn't had the opportunity, but he also hasn't sustained success in college. And then you have Reggie Bush, who was the best playmaker for Miami last year, no question about it, and Ireland lets him go. So every single move Ireland makes as a playmaker is a question. And at the running back position, I think right now, as I said, there's more questions than answers.
I think you're right. I think, go ahead.
I was just going to jump in, and I was going to agree with him as well because he made a lot of great points about the running back position. There's a question mark. Then I was going to transition to the defense because I've seen a lot of changes on the Dolphins' defense. And last year they were actually one of the best in the NFL, at least in terms of being underrated, if you don't count the secondary. The new acquisitions of defense, and I'm not even going to look at Deion Jordan in that aspect. I'm looking at Brent Grimes, Benell Ellerbe, and Phil Wheeler. What kind of impact do you see them having on the Dolphins' defense?
The two guys I'm really excited about are obviously Brent Grimes, who's coming off that injury, and Jamar Taylor as well. I think you get a cornerback position that has really been an issue for the Dolphins. And again, we go back to Jeff Ireland. He drafted two guys, and neither worked out. Traded one for low compensation relatively to Indianapolis, and let Sean Smith walk as a free agent. So now you have Grimes, who's Pro Bowl caliber player, obviously coming off an injury. And then Jamar Taylor, who you have to believe the Dolphins targeted. You know, they knew they needed a cornerback. They knew they were going to take one in the first two rounds. A lot of guys went off the board, and they focused on Taylor, who, you know, had a really solid college career. So I think those two guys can make a huge difference right away. But just like with any rookie, and whether it's a first-round pick, a seventh-round pick, it doesn't matter. I always want to see them do it on the NFL level before I give them any type of credit, and that's really what Taylor has to do right now.
What about the linebackers? What difference do you think you're going to see between the new linebacking core of Elodie, Wheeling, and Yousefi compared to last year when it was Dansby, Burnett, and Yousefi?
Well, definitely. I mean, you know, one thing it seemed like the Dolphins tried to do in free agency this year was to just get faster overall on defense. And I think Ellerby, Wheeler, they really helped the team in that regard. But then you do lose, you know, they lost a leading tackler. They lost a lot of experience in that linebacking core. So a lot of it really needs to be made up for. The Dolphins are all of a sudden a very, very young team. And still a lot of questions that need to be answered, as we said. I think the speed factor, getting guys that are faster, maybe a little bit more explosive, is good, but they still need to be playmakers, and the Dolphins need to create turnovers. It's been a problem in the past, and they're hoping that they remedied that this year.
Yes, that's very true. They really did not create a lot of plays last year. And if I had $1 for every Sean Smith dropped interception, how rich would I be, Ryan?
You would be richer than the Powerball lady, the 87-year-old lady, I believe. He's killing me, that guy. You just made me get goosebumps, and I can't take it. Thank God he went to Kansas City, where we'll never see him again.
Well, until the Dolphins play the Chiefs, whenever that is. But
they do. They play him this year, yeah. Oh,
no, they don't.
That's gonna hurt.
Wait.
Actually, that'll be a good thing.
Yeah. yeah, because actually my fear with any former Dolphin, whenever they go sign somewhere else, is that all of a sudden they kill them.
Oh, for sure.
It doesn't make me freak out as much as, you know, when the Heat play a former member of their team like a Darrell Ryder or Daquan Cook, but
right.
You know.
Yeah, I mean when Dante Culpepper was pointing at his knee, that was rock bottom, I think.
Oh God. I try to forget that season. Definitely should.
I know what you're saying. I was scared of Clyde Gates this season, if that tells you anything.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. I figured he'd like bust a punt return or would even catch a long bomb from Sanchez, but that didn't happen.
Right. Yeah, watching the Super Bowl, watching Ted Ginn, I was just like, come on, man, don't do anything, please. We don't need that here. So, but luckily he's Ted Ginn, so we were okay.
Yes. Yeah, we definitely were. So, do you have any more questions for Adam?
Just where do you? This is a tough question. Of course, they asked me this earlier. How do you see your season playing out? I mean, I was saying on Twitter today that Tahiti would be the third best team in the AFC East now. So you got six games now. Two that they're not. It's never easy against Patriots, but they're not as of right now. You never know what those guys, what they're doing, what they got up their sleeve. But how do you see the season playing out? You think the Dolphins are a contender or pretender? And, do you see them right at that 10-win mark, or do you think their schedule's going to hold them back a bit and it might be next year before they seriously contend? I'm not talking about Pennington 4-interception games in the first round, I'm talking about deep into the playoffs,
Well, I think the schedule is difficult. There's no question about that. I think when you look at the AFC East, though, and that's really the first thing you have to consider a team's division, when you give any schedule projections or how a season's going to fare out. The Bills, the Jets, those should be 4 games the Dolphins win. No excuses. If the Dolphins are going to be a contender this year, they have to win those 4 games. Then you have the Patriots, who lost, I believe now, their top 5 pass catchers from last year, a ridiculous amount of receptions and yards from Tom Brady. And the Dolphins have improved significantly on offense. Obviously, you're still going against Brady, Pro Bowl quarterback, one of the best of all time. The Dolphins should easily split that.
Right.
So you're saying just in conference there, in division there, that should be 5 wins for the Miami Dolphins. And you look at the rest of the season, can they pull off 5 more wins? I think with the faster, more explosive defense and the significantly improved offense that everyone is expecting from Joe Philbin and Mike Sherman and Ryan Tannehill, I think the Dolphins are a playoff team. I think they're a division winner.
Yeah, I have a friend that is a noob when it comes to being a Dolphins fan, and the last couple seasons, he just can't take it. And I tell him, listen, first, rule number 1 of being a Dolphins fan, they can win and lose any game, any season. They will beat the Packers in Lambeau, and they will lose to the Browns, Jake Delhomme, quarterback, at home. So you can never pencil in anything. You just got to sit there at 1 o'clock and watch what unfolds in front of your eyes. And hopefully you're not crying, at 4 o'clock. So we will see. Like I said, you can't pencil in the wins and losses. You don't know who's going to get hurt. You don't know anything. But I think the caliber of a team is what it is. It's tough when a lot of players like this come together, but it's going to be exciting. Like you said, I like that they've added speed.
Definitely. Also, Ryan, remember, those games could also come back-to-back. They can win the Monday night game in Lambeau against the Packers, and then that Sunday, they'll lay the egg against the Browns. That's what I've learned about this team. I've seen them do stuff like that my entire life, actually.
Yeah. It's, you never know what's going to happen with this team. I think they have the right people there now. It's Tony Sperano is not the coach anymore. I think if they lose, it's going to be because of talent, not because they weren't prepared and they didn't overlook something. And I think they have moved on from the era we were in into an era where they can at least contend. We can look forward to games on Sunday again, not here we go again. Let's see. So we're luckily moving on to another era of Miami Dolphins football.
Yes, we are. And to me, it's a very good-looking era for right now. I probably said that about the Dolphins God knows how many times in the last 10, 15 years, but for right now, I'll admit, it looks very good for them.
Yeah, I think I wrote a post for the Finsider once about the Henny to Ginn combination that I'll never get back. I'll never get those 2 hours back, so.
A couple of years ago, Bleacher Report, I actually wrote a season prediction where I had Henny leading the Dolphins to the Super Bowl that I'll never get back. So we all have that.
Delete the internet. Delete it.
Mm-hmm.
just delete it. Log off.
Yeah. Yeah. Somehow I have a.
It happens. I mean, it happens. I mean, I was in Asia watching at 4 a.m. the game against the Bears. We lost 16-0 at Thigpen, and I was not one of those people calling for him, but I was like, this kid's got it. He's finally his chance. 16-0. So that's what you hey, at least you always are positive. I think the Marlins have killed us this season, and the Dolphins have done it before, but you always come back. We're all zeros are all right. The cliches are coming out.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Adam, thank you so much for coming on. You've been a great guest.
Yeah, thanks, Adam.
Definitely thanks you guys for having me.
Are you looking for an NFL website that doesn't throw rumors against the wall and hope they stick? Then please go to ProFootballCentral.com for up-to-date news and information. ProFootballCentral.com is back and better than ever. We're dedicated to being your #1 NFL fan site, so come check us out at ProFootballCentral.com and experience the difference.
Our thanks to Adam Silverstein for joining us on the program. He was great today, wasn't he?
He was real good. I think he brought a lot of good insight on the running back situation, and I think he was real with us. It's hard to find that, So a lot of thanks to Adam.
Yes. What was now? Before we wrap this up, I would just like to ask, what would you say was the biggest acquisition of the offseason?
Well, I mean, the biggest, the most expensive, Mike Wallace. But I'm hoping that he can grow. It depends. I'm hoping he can grow into that #1 and not just a guy that runs that straight, end zone route. So, if he's as advertised and as I've seen him and as he's been on my fantasy team, then that is our biggest addition. And we will be seeing a lot of scoreboard changing quickly, something that Dolphin fans have not seen very often. So I'm going to go with that one. If you're talking draft, if you include the draft, I think right behind it could be Deion Jordan. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the linebackers. I don't know what to expect from them as far as upgrade of what we had, but I think those two guys are the future of the NFL, and just the speed and the domination that they can bring. Those guys at the top of their game. I think that they're going to be elite players. Wallace already proven it. Jordan can be on Wake's level if he's got the tools. So, but as far as the offseason, I'm going to go with Wallace.
Yeah, Wallace definitely won in terms of bank account. For me, I'm still going to say it's Brent Grimes. I've been saying it's Brent Grimes since they signed him. Not just for the big playability that he can bring to the team, but also the leadership ability that he can bring to the secondary alongside the younger guys like Jamar Taylor. And he can also help to mold him, and also we got him for a bargain. That's the way I look at it. I said that when they signed him, and also in the article that I published on Bleacher Report earlier this morning, he got one of the 2 A+ from me. I don't think I gave Wallace an A+. I think I just gave him a name. But Grimes certainly got an A+ from me, along with the Deion Jordan trade up. So,
right. Yeah, if they can keep him as well, that'll be a big addition. I think Wallace is here. Grimes is going to be. I think for a year he can definitely make a huge difference. But can we keep him? Is this just a pit stop? But we got him this year, so we'll worry about that next year. Kind of like LeBron James.
Yeah. No, that's the way to do it too, especially in the NFL, because you just never know in this league.
Yeah, that's for sure. You don't want to. Yeah, let him prove he's healthy for a year and get us somewhere, and we'll take care of him next year. I think a lot of their contracts also have left room for future movement. So you never know what can happen.
Yeah, I think Ireland did very well this year. I can't
complain. I don't know what to say. I can't complain. It's been very quiet on the Ireland front for a few months now. I think we will see, though. I thought they had a good draft last year, and it didn't work out that great behind Tannehill. So hopefully this year his draft, I think it looks good. I like some of the kids. I like who they got. I think really Philbin has changed him. So it's a good time to be a Dolphin fan. We're going the right way.
Yes, it is. And Brian, thanks so much for joining us and just co-hosting the show with me. You've been outstanding.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Just as you are on Twitter, if you are a Miami sports fan, you have to follow him. It's at RizRights. Follow him on Twitter. Read his stuff in the New Times. He's definitely a must-follow. Also, be sure to follow our other guest, Adam Silverstein. At Only Gators is one of his Twitter accounts. That's for his Gators site, and his personal site is at Silverstein Adam. He actually flip-flops his last name and first name for that. But those are definitely 2 must-follows. Any guest on the show is a must-follow, obviously. Of course, another must-follow is the show itself, at Dolphins Central. And be sure, if you have any Dolphins questions, or if you have a question for me, or if you have a question for Ryan and would like to get him back on the show, tell us. If you have any suggestions for guests, tell us at Dolphins Central, and of course, me, at Thomas Galicia. Be sure to follow me. Once again, thanks to Adam Silverstein and Ryan Yousefi for joining us on the program, and we will see you next week, same time, same podcast network.
This has been a presentation of the Pro Football Central Network. For news, blogs, highlights, and more, log on to ProFootballCentral.com.